Well, what do you know? I couldn't fix the audio, so I'm just gonna do this video again. It's gonna be about LinkedIn and resume, and we all have very short attention spans, so I'll just dive right in. So if we go to the job, this is what you want to get, right? Um, there's a lot of stuff that I could talk about, but I'm just gonna focus on a few things. So we have social media skills, right? PowerPoint proficiency and Canva. So there are two categories of skills. There is soft skills and there are hard skills. Soft skills is something like creativity, curiosity, organization. Not as tangible, it's not as specific, not as concrete, which is why they call hard skills hard skills. It's more concrete. Um, so PowerPoint proficiency, that is very specific. If you state that, people will know exactly what you're talking about. There's not much room for interpretation there. That is an example of a hard skill. When we get to the resume, I'll mention it again, but if you can, fill the skill section with as many hard skills as you can and make sure you really pay close attention to the specific word use here. So again, I'll mention this later, but when we're going into the resume, a lot of the time you actually want to tailor resumes to the specific job you're applying for. So you'll probably be editing resumes a lot, which can be a bitch, but it's worth it, I promise. So PowerPoint, well, there's also Google Slides, and some people will say Google Slides instead of PowerPoint. So that is an example of when you would actually go into the skill section of your resume, change the word from PowerPoint to Google Slides if it's Google Slides. People want to know you're really paying attention, you're tailoring your resume to them because that means you're really interested in the company. And if you invest in them, then they are more likely to invest in you. So we'll go to the profile. That was the whole like job board page. It's kind of like Indeed. For LinkedIn, there's a profile page, which is basically the Instagram for the corporate world. Profile picture. Make sure that it's, not kind of like wild makeup party photo. There's friends in your photo, or you could see someone drinking a beer in the back or this is the professional Instagram, not the fun Instagram. You want them to see your eyes. You want to be smiling, be inviting. If you can, a neutral background, even blur it if you can. Make sure you look clean. You don't want to make it look like you just got done like partying and your hair is like a wild mess, which might look good, but not in an office setting. For the header/banner, that you can just use the free version of Canva to make. You don't want to leave it empty. You do want to put the effort in to put some of your contact information so they could just see it right there as soon as they get to your profile section. If we scroll down to experience, put everything there, guys. Again, it's like social media, right? So there's no limit to what you can put in that experience section. With your resume, it has to be 1 page max. So sometimes if you've worked a lot of different jobs, depending on the position you're applying for, gotta pick and choose which ones you want to talk about. With this one, you want it all there so that if someone sees your resume and they're interested and they want to see more of your work experience, then all of it is right there for them. So moving on to the actual resume. First things first, you'll notice it's pretty simple. Nothing too crazy with the font. No colors and creative designs. There's 2 reasons for this. One, it can look like you're trying too hard and you're not letting the experience and your qualifications speak for themselves. That is off-putting for recruiters. 2, with all the machine learning and the AI technology, companies are now using software to filter out resumes purely based on how they are formatted and how they look. So before it even gets to the actual living human in HR, it's going to get screened through this software. So if you don't have it formatted correctly, you might have great content, but if it is too colorful, too wild, too creative, it's not really up to the corporate standard. No human being is going to actually see your resume. And then I could send more links to you guys about the specific formatting of that. So experience, probably the most important part of your resume. I think you guys know, how long you worked there, what was the role, what was the company. That's easy stuff. I'm going to focus more on the description of the job. So there's a couple things that you want to consider. You want to consider verbs, and you want to consider numbers, and then hard skills. Even though you're going to list hard skills down below, you still want to put it in the description if you can. So first things first, the verbs. Every bullet point should start with a verb, right? Because recruiters want to see that you're doing something, and you want to make each word different if you can. Why? Because the person that uses the same word over and over and over comes off as a weak writer, whereas if you use a bunch of different words, you come off as a stronger writer, and the written communication is super, super important in the corporate world. There was kind of like 50-50 present tense and past tense when I made this, but these days I'm seeing a lot more past tense. So unless you're still working that job, I would put all the verbs in past tense. Second thing, numbers. Specificity, data, right? I mean, that builds credibility. It is evidence. So you don't have to get the exact number, but try to ballpark it. You can flare up the number a little bit. Just don't do it too much. So example, I planned over 10 virtual events, right? That is a concrete number that, people can imagine and think about. But it's like, okay, well, so what? Who cares if, the 10 virtual events were there, but like if they were crappy, well, why should we hire you? Average turnout of 60 students. So, people consistently came to these things. That's kind of like the result of my action, right? So if you think about it almost like a story with a beginning, middle, and end, you could also think about it as, well, this is what I initiated. This is what I did. This is what is the result of what I did. Third thing, hard skills. So, Microsoft Outlook and Excel to ensure optimal service for students' success. Maybe you know how to use pivot tables on Excel. I used pivot tables to present this new stock option for my, finance company while I was an intern. Or if you're more on the marketing side of things, well, I created content for their social media network. Well, what platforms? What did you use? Like Meta? Did you use TikTok? So I listed the 3 specific ones. And final thing about the resume, keep in mind, whatever you talk about, whatever you mention, write about in your resume, they're probably going to ask you something about it in your interview. So if they ask for more details on, how did you use Instagram marketing, then you definitely want to be prepared to give a detailed answer to that and tell a good story. That spills more into like the whole interview prep. I can make another video about that later. But in essence, that is the resume. Experience is the most important part. You have your contact info up here. Education doesn't matter if you have a college education or not. You could put beauty school, you could put community college. And then with extracurriculars, well, what if I didn't go to college? What if I don't have any extracurriculars? Well, you could put things under projects. Oh, I started a skincare business, made a social media page for it, and I have about 2 clients per week. It could be something as simple as that. You just got to know how to dress it up a bit. Again, I could do more on that in another video, because that's like very writing word heavy, and how to like straddle the line between outright lying and dressing something up. And that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully the audio works, and hopefully this helps. So there you have it, folks. How do I stop this fucking video? I'm gonna have to edit this. That's gonna be a bitch.